structure of Morrison Media Group. Theme: Media's role in shaping social change, addressing inequities, and empowering voices. Chairman Alex Ndudi Enebele, FSM, President, Institute of Strategic Management of Nigeria, Chartered. Keynote speaker, Professor Armstrong Idachaba, Professor of Media and Broadcasting Communication. Panelist, Professor Chris Ochonogo, Immediate Past Head of Department, Journalism and Media Studies, University of Port Harcourt. Dr. Ijoma Tobosia, Secretary, NUJ, River State. Dr. Sarah Joe, University Orator and Associate Dean, Faculty of Communication and Media, River State University, Port Harcourt. Dr. Ibiere Koki, Ignatius Aju University of Education, Rumolomini, Port Harcourt. Chief Host, Dr. Chinyere Igwe, Esquire, Chairman, Morrison Group. Date: Tuesday, 10th March 2026. Venue: Gate Place Hotel, Kilometer 5, East West Road, adjacent Obirikwere Flyover, Rumosi, Port Harcourt. Time: 10 a.m. For more information, please call Kaide Paul Obofadi 081 063 41777 or Samuel Ajinwo at 090 454 00744. Signed, Management. The Board, Management and Staff of Morrison Media Group presents
Good morning and welcome to Atlantic Sunday. Atn Sunday is a syndicated live program of the network featuring chit-chatting and conversation on special interest topics, news, events and stories through correspondence reports, experts' opinion and stakeholders' analysis. Today we'll be looking at these stories. Ocean State, police arrest 4 over banditry false alarm. Lagos State, government clarifies Deputy Governor's 4.2 billion naira office furniture allocation. And in Ondo State, police urges churches, mosques to suspend night services. Gombe State, 51-year-old man jailed for selling minor. And then bandits kill 29, abduct many in fresh robbery attacks in the northern state of Nigeria. Senator Atman faces 7-year jail term, 204 million naira restitution, and then NEL Fund, 1.69 million applications received, 183.8 million naira disbursed. Pro-INEC protest hits Abuja amid Electoral Act controversy. U.S. alleges illegal Chinese mine financing terror groups. We are open for advert placements, bookings, and commercials. You can connect with us on our ATN socials, Facebook and YouTube, Atlantic Television Network, Instagram and TikTok, Atlantic TV Network 1, on X, Atlantic TV Net. Watch us live on our website, www.atlanticnetwork.tv. We're going for a short commercial break. When I return, I will introduce my guests for today. Day in Oshogbo by the police public relations officer, DSP Abodun Ajilabi. Ajilabi said the suspect on February 18th inscribed the words "Bandits Today, Today" on a residence wall in Ajogunle area of the Ila Oragun. He said the inscription triggered panic, prompting some residents to flee amid fears of an imminent banditry attack. According to him, the alleged offences border on conspiracy and conduct likely to cause a breach of the peace. Ajilabi urged residents to shun acts capable of causing panic and advised them to go about their lawful activities. Why would any right-thinking person want to incite fear knowing fully well what is happening in Nigeria, people are apprehensive. People are basically watching over their shoulders every time, due to insecurity issues. So why would any individual, any rightful thinking individual, want to cause or impose fears in their neighbor? Sami?
Well, the thing with most people, that act unreasonable is that they don't take into consideration the circumstances prevalent at the moment before taking, actions or inactions. I think that from what I read, what you just said, I think that the person probably just took it as a joke. We're just trying to be mischievous, we're just trying to be naughty, without understanding the impact of his joke, on the people that were domiciled in that region. Now, let me give you an example. Supposing, some persons with heart problems and BP issues and all that, sees that stuff and, have a reaction to it, God forbid they lose their life or they get a stroke. It's no longer a joke. So I don't know why people would choose to be unreasonable and ignore the circumstances prevalent to them at the moment, as regards the insecurity issues we are facing as a country, and decide to just be all mischievous or nothing. That's very, very terrible, and I hope that it should be dealt with in accordance with the provisions of the law, as to serve as a deterrent to others. That's my take on on this particular issue.
Okay. One will also, I like to play the devil's advocate in such scenarios. One would also say maybe they were ignorant to the effect of their words, or maybe they were trying to bring awareness to the people. Bandits today, I'm just trying to make sense of what is happening.
There's no how you can bring awareness on banditry to anybody living in Nigeria. I don't think there's anywhere that have not heard the news about the security issues we're facing as a nation. I don't think there's any place. I mean, even in the most rural places, they have access to radio stations. It's on mainstream media, televisions, radio stations. It's on social media. It's on newspaper coverage and all that. So I don't think anybody there's any effort anybody will make, to sensitize the people on the security issues we're facing as a nation. People are already sensitized. They already feel the echoes of insecurity that has reverberated throughout the nation, and they're being careful and cautious. Even here in River State, where it seems like the attacks are not, where it seems like there's no attack, we enjoy relative peace. I think there was a time when we had rumors of it was a rumor anyway fabricated by mischief makers when we saw it on social media, and we heard that they've the guys in question being mischievous. Being naughty, trying to create mayhem when there's no mayhem, trying to create fear in the populace. I don't know what sort of satisfaction someone would get from seeing a group of people being afraid and living in fear. I don't know the joy derived from putting people under unnecessary pressure.
Okay. So from your perspective, would you say in this instance, should they be ignorant to their actions? Should we temper mercy with justice?
We should hold them accountable to serve as a deterrent to other people. Okay. That's my take. We should hold them accountable. They should be accountable for their actions. They're not kids. From what I read, they're not kids. They're men responsible for their actions, and they should be held accountable in line with the provisions of the law.
All right. the total capital vote is earmarked for the reconstruction of the Roundhouse complex. The government explains that the balance of 170 million naira covered office equipment and related capital items. But 4.2 billion naira for office allocation for the deputy governor of Lagos State. I mean, I know Lagos State is economically a very large state. There is a lot to do. That has a lot, to give when it comes to economy of Nigeria. But is 4.2 billion naira for the office of the deputy governor not a bit too much?
Well, I looked at the explanations for the finances, and I looked at a building that we have the capacity to house 50 office space amongst other building destinations. I look at office equipment, and all that. And to me, well, I'm not in the building business anyway, so I wouldn't know what it would take to build something of that magnitude. But then I've done little constructions and little renovations within my space, and I know how expensive building materials can be. I know how expensive building materials can be, especially with a project of that magnitude. I mean, furniture alone costs a whole lot. I'm never going to lie, it costs a whole lot. And that was when I saw that the monies were just slated for office equipment and microphones. I was like, no, that can't be. That can't be. So I waited for clarification. Thank God they've clarified it. So why I might not say that it's too much or it's too small. What I can say is, I know that the cost of erecting a building in modern day Nigeria is very, very, a bag of cement alone is like what, 10,500, 11,000?
11,000 naira as of yesterday.
So it's very, madam, it's just like you've been into construction recently. Demand and supply.
So we don't start.
So it's very, very expensive,
right?
Especially the project of that magnitude. And it's a government project, So yeah, like I said, I wouldn't want to defend, or I wouldn't want to also say that the money is outrageous, because I don't know the magnitude, the size of the building and all that, as well as other things beyond the office spaces that are included in the building, like a hall, a meeting hall, and all that. So what I would say is that the government should be more transparent, so that so they don't throw the people into a state of alarm, over misuse of government funds.
Yeah.
That's just what I would say. They should be, in course of this project, they should be more transparent to the people. If they should update the people, give people a step-by-step update. Okay, we're done doing this, we're moving to this and all that. I think that will assuage, the fears of the people. Because I know for a fact, like I said, it's crazy. Building materials is crazy. Anything building is crazy. It takes courage, to go into things like that. So yeah, that's my take.
Yeah, I was actually going to tap on or go into the transparency when it comes to financial dealings here in Nigeria. But I'm glad you already tackled that. But then again, looking at our economic situation, at a time when most Nigerians are complaining due to the hardship in the economy, for a Lagos State citizen to hear that, whether reconstruction or whatever it is costing 4-point-something billion naira. I mean, is it not a cause for alarm for the people? Would you not term it as a bit insensitive?
Well, what I would say is, right from our earliest history, there's always been hardship. However, there are projects that needs to be executed by the government. Not necessarily because they are trying to be extravagant, but because the projects are important, to the growth and development of the states, the infrastructural growth and development of the states. If certain parastatals or certain officials of the government do not have an office space, it's a problem, because it means that the people in charge of those responsibilities, won't be as active as they ought to have been, and they'll give the excuse of not having an adequate office space, or they don't have an office for them to be able to work, and as such they can't be they won't be properly supervised, by the people who are supposed to supervise them. So I think that it's better you have this set of people in control of these critical sectors, under strict supervision, than just allowing them to dilly-dally. By then also giving them an excuse, to be able to do what they can with the funds. I feel that there should be a proper bureaucratic process to checkmate the activities of people responsible for handling our finances. And if this is a way, we can be able to cut down cost and cut down on whatever corruption practices is prevalent in that proximity, then I think that it should be done.
All right, thank you, Sami. Let's move on. Police force in Ondo State has advised religious leaders, including Muslims, Christians, and traditional worshippers, to suspend 9 services due to prevailing security challenges in the state. The Commissioner of Police in the state, Mr. Adebowale Lawal, gave the advice on Friday in Akure while addressing newsmen in the recent abduction of 6 members of the Celestial Church of Uso. The news agency of Nigeria reports that the victims were kidnapped on February 2025 during a midnight service at the church located along the Uso-Owo Expressway in Owo local government area of the state. NAN also reports that one of the worshippers was rescued and one informant was arrested by the police following the incident. It was gathered that the kidnappers demanded a ransom of 100 million naira for the victims' release. Lawal explained that the victims included pregnant women and one physically challenged person. Okay, before I ask Sami my question, I would like to clarify that it happened on February 25th, not February 2025. All right, Sami, so February 25th, 2026, that's like just a couple of days ago, some people in Ondo State were abducted by some gunmen, right? Now, due to this, although some of them were also rescued, the Ondo police is asking that religious activities be suspended, especially the ones during the night, night services and what's not. And I like the fact that it cuts across. It's not just about Christians, but even traditionalists were also involved now, because we've been labeled a country of particular concern because of targeted religious killings, and we're doing everything possible to let the international world know that it's Nigerians that are dying. It's not really based on just Christians, right? Right, Sami?
Is this my cue to speak?
Yeah, this is your cue to speak.
Okay, well, first of all, your statements, the statement you just made has, gladdened my heart that we are on the same page now and we have seen the bigger picture.
But we're never on the same page.
I wouldn't want us to rehash history.
Well, we're never on the same page.
Now, let's leave it.
So why? Okay, continue.
Let's leave it there. Okay. First of all, I think that the primary responsibility of a government is to protect the life and property of its citizens, and if the Nigerian police force feel that suspending night activities at the meantime would help curb down insecurity issues in the state, and I think that the directive should be followed. I remember there was a time in Rivers State, most people may not remember anyway, but a time in Rivers State where before you walk past any major junction, you raise up your hands. There were checkpoints, military and police checkpoints all over. Before you walk past any major junction, you raise up your hand. I think they were at Wimpy. Wimpy, they were at Wimpy, they were at Trumokoro, they were at Garrison, they were at Maiwan. You raise up your hand. Sometimes vehicles will come when you get to that junction, you come down. People, your passengers or whatever will come down and raise up their hands, and you, the driver, will just drive slowly, past, So that was because of what we were facing and experiencing as a people back then. And then today, all those experiences are a thing of the past. Gen Z won't remember all this. You get. So I believe that the lives and properties of the people, lives first, is paramount. And whatever actions and inactions that should be taken to ensure the protection of those life and properties should be done and done swiftly. Because life is something you can't get back. You're dead, you're dead. You know, the components of the human body, despite the fact that technology has not made it possible for artificial limbs and whatnot to replace human parts. It's not the same feel, you know, as your natural body. It's not the same feel as your natural physique. So I think that we should be careful. Anything that can be done to avoid the maiming or killing of people around us should be done so and done swiftly, so that things like that don't occur.
Yeah.
So I think I'll give. I agree with the police on this one, and this should be done temporarily to be able to, you know, get the culprits behind these attacks, and see how they can be able to tackle other security challenges that threatens the safety of the people.
Yeah, kudos to them as well. But sometimes when you hear that they are making a demand of 100 million naira, let's look at, for example, the abduction of the physically challenged person, right? A physically challenged person, the possibility of having 100 million naira in their account is basically very low. Recently, we saw some allegations where it was being said that the federal government had to pay some ransom for the release of their abducted school children. Do you think that some of these bandits and kidnappers, knowing fully well that, yes, obviously the people might not be able to afford it, but if they mount enough pressure on the government would bend to their will and then submit to their will? Because for you to demand 100 million naira, knowing fully well that this person is not capable of paying the amounts, what's the essence of it? Obviously, they want to spread terror. But other than that, they're also in the business of also making money. Either they are being financed or they are abducting for the purpose of making money. Do you think this is their way of bending the federal government to their will?
Okay, well, first of all, let me address the claims by the government paying, how much was it again, 2 billion, 3 billion?
Yes.
Well, those, to me, I believe in facts. I don't believe in stories, you know, without substantial claims. I think this originated from a French news agency, you know, and that it spread around, the rumor spread around that the federal government is paying ransoms to terrorists to secure and whatnot. There's no proof to substantiate such claims, right? So I won't take them seriously. The official stand of the Nigerian government through its military, you know, I think the Minister of Defense said it, he reiterated it recently, Christopher Musa, no negotiation with terrorists. That's what the Defense Minister says. And I think that whatever allegations are being placed upon the Nigerian government should be substantiated with facts, because I know the international system works, I know the international politics works, and I know the role of media outlets and new agencies in propagating propaganda, you know, to ensure that there's strong arm in nation to, you know, listen to their terms. Gaddafi is one of the African leaders that has been celebrated today, you know, based on his contributions towards African unity and all that. But there's a time that Africans thought that Gaddafi was a dictator. In fact, there was a time that there were rumors about him that he eats human beings, him and Idi Amin. But those rumors were unfounded, you know. But you could see the media spread as of that time, that it's confused. I think I was much younger then, and I read stories and all that about, you know, the activities of these men, which I now have recognized to be false, because it didn't add up. But as of that time, it was all over, you know. So we don't know whatever agenda an international news agency is pushing. So I advise Nigerians to be careful of unverified news, you know, by international outlets, so that won't serve the purpose of another country, because there's something called public diplomacy. What public diplomacy simply means is the influencing the citizens of another nation's opinions without passing through their governments, right? And that's what's happening, you know. So I would advise Nigerians to be very, very careful about whatever news we digest in a bid to ensure that we are not serving the interest of an external nation or country, which of course wouldn't be in our best interest, because their interest to serve their interest, right? It's not our interest. So that should be out of the way. Now going back to the guy with disability. Well, first of all, let me disabuse your mind of something. There are physically challenged people. Now this is totally out of what I'm saying. This is not part of the subject matter. But I know physically challenged people that have it big, right? I know physically challenged people that have it big. But that is not, I'm not in any way supporting, you know, the ransom payment and all that. I'm not saying that. I'm not supporting it. Because these guys, these terror organizations, kidnappers, they'll kidnap someone and they'll make outrageous claims. Tried and made to face the full route of the law.
Okay. All right. Let's move on quickly to the next story. Federal High Court sitting in Gombe, presided over by Justice H.I.O. Oshuma, on Thursday sentenced 51-year-old Hamidu Damisa to prison for child trafficking offenses. Damisa, a resident of Putuki Pagale in Balanga local government area, was accused of selling a 1-year-old boy identified as Destiny from Boga Degree in the same local government. The prosecuting counsel, Musa Yila Kopio, told the court that the defendant was arraigned on the 2 counts charged relating to child trafficking. He added that the second count alleged that Damisa attempted to sell the same child, an offense contrary to Section 29 of the Child Trafficking Law, as amended in 2015, and punishable under Section 21 of the same law. When the charges were read in court, Damisa pleaded not guilty. During the trial, the prosecution presented 2 witnesses, including the convict's wife, who testified in the matter. After considering the submissions and evidence presented, Justice Oshuma found Damisa guilty and sentenced him in accordance with the provisions of the Child Trafficking Law. I mean, kudos to that. But I saw where the perpetrator of the act was sentenced to court, but I'm yet to see where, what should I say, the person accomplice, whoever was buying, the buyer of the child. Obviously, they were selling the child to someone, you know. What I'm trying to ask is this. In a situation, obviously they're selling a 1-year-old child. This is child trafficking, and in most cases is for people, either orphanages that need children to fill up their orphanage, or for some parents who do not, or married couple or whoever, people that do not have children are in need of children. So they want to buy this. They want to buy this babies and what's not. Let's look at our adoption process here in Africa, Nigeria, starting. Recently, a friend's organization, right? They wanted to have an event, so they wanted to reach out to orphanages. We want to have your children, right? We want to invite your children. You can bring the children out, right, to our event. We'll cater. We can even provide you with a bus and everything just to bring them. Let them have fun. It's a children's event, right? Let them have fun. I can tell you, out of 5 orphanages that we went to, because I was there as well, only 1 agreed to it. Exactly. They will tell you to bring the fun to the orphanage, that they do not allow the kids to go outside. We said, we can allow supervision, you understand? We can allow the caretakers to accompany these children. Let them just come to, it's a Children's Day event, right? And we want to target the vulnerable children, especially those in orphanages who don't get to experience things like this. And they said no. Do you know why? Because sometimes these orphanages, they don't even have those number of kids, because they would give a figure to the state, right? And then they will be given some allocation, federal or state allocation support. That's one. Two, sometimes they even put these kids outside to go and hold. So even if you go in there, they'll tell you it's not convenient. What I'm just trying to say is that the conditions, policies in these orphanages, even to adopt children, is quite intricate. So people use these procedures, these measures. I'm not justifying the actions to gain a child, or just get a child, or get something. What does that say about our policies when it comes to child protection in Nigeria, especially the vulnerable ones?
Well, the issue of child protection, child rights, is something that's very sensitive to me, because I grew up in Port Harcourt, and I've been around, and I've seen certain children. I've seen street kids.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, if you go out, if you are moving, if you go out, if you're around, you find yourself around Jerry in the night, you see kids, 10, 11, so. Well, you see, the children, the vulnerable children in Nigeria, I'm not going to lie, there's a problem in terms of regulation, especially as those of them that are orphans and have no guidance looking after them. And you know, I've not really thought about it this way. What you said about the orphanages, sincerely, I've not thought about it. I've not thought about them in this light, and I think I'll start paying a closer attention to what goes on in the orphanage. But then again, I think that to a large extent, you might be correct. You know, because these people actually receive stipends from the government, and it has become a culture. It has become the Nigerian way, you know, to take the most out of every opportunity presented to you. So I don't think that what you're saying is out of place, so far from it. And I think that there should be an advocacy, an intentional advocacy to ensure the more stringent rules and policies upon these orphanages. And as for that man that did what he did with the child, well, when I looked at, I think that for the buyer not to be included there, maybe it's a sting operation. Maybe the police or the security agencies fronted somebody as the buyer one, or maybe the buyer escaped. Because I'm not comfortable with the whole idea of, you know, bringing in seller and not bringing the buyer, because it takes two to tango.
True.
If there's a buyer, there's a seller. If there's a seller, there's a buyer. You know, so in order for you to curtail the issue of child trafficking, you know, need to ensure that both the buyer and the seller are, you know, arrested to serve as deterrents to others. You know, so let me, because I didn't get the full gist, so let me assume that the buyer was not really in the picture, you know, due to the fact that they couldn't get him, or he was used as a front for the sting operation. Child trafficking is something that is destructive. It has terrible impacts on the life of the child being trafficked. You know, and people sometimes they don't heal from the trauma, you know, of being taken out of your comfort zone and taken into somewhere else to, you know, a strange land that you know nothing about, and, you know, being forced to do all manner of things. And I have no sympathy for anybody that is caught in such practice, and I appeal. In fact, I even advocate for, you know, the capital punishment to be meted out on those who actually perpetrate such crimes, because you destroy somebody's life. And if you destroy somebody's life, then you should be made, you know, to pay with it. So yeah, that's my take on the whole thing. That's my take on the issue.
Okay, let's move on quickly to our education sector. NEL Fund. As the Nigerian Education Loan Fund portal closes today, Friday, the scheme has recorded 1,696,316 applications from students nationwide since its launch in May 24th, 2025. May 24th, 2024. According to the fund's latest daily status report on its official X account, 983,706 students have benefited so far. Applications continue to rise up to the final day, with a 0.8% increase over the previous day, translating to 12,776 additional submissions. On disbursements, NEL Fund confirmed that 107,086,869 have been paid directly to 265 beneficiary institutions as institutional fees, while 76,798,904,000 have been disbursed to students as upkeep allowances. In total, 183,885,809,491,000 has been released under the scheme as of February 1st, 2026. The fund had earlier announced via its X account on February 25th that the student portal will close on February 27th, urging prospective applicants to complete their submissions before the deadline. Now, I would like to go back to the figures. So far, 983,706 students have benefited. Additional 12,776 have submitted. And then in total, NEL Fund has confirmed that 107,086,869,491,000 has been paid directly to 265 and 65 beneficiary institutions as institutional fees, while 76 trillion 798 billion 940 million and some thousand has been disbursed to students as upkeep allowances. I mean, this is an impressive figure. Sammy, I think I'll have to clap for the government when it comes to this, because education is quite dear to my heart. You know, one thing about education is that people sometimes overlook certain benefits other than the physical education that the children get to experience. There's also the social culture. Why education matters to me the most is that I've seen how much I have benefited from it. I've seen how much people around me have benefited from it, especially in the social contrast, like the social standards. Okay, if you're privileged to have been able to access that, it puts you ahead, you know, in so many ways, in contrast to people that have not been able to benefit it. And then if you're lucky enough to have like quality education where you don't have to think about the cost associated, you just have to go to school, you know, and then think about your books, think about how well you can, you know, do in school, and not think about the additional cost. The federal government, other than paying for their school fees and what's not, is even giving them allowances as well. So before you come for me, let me say kudos to the federal government on this one. Sabi, do you have any additional information to add? I mean, you are in the educational sector as well. As an educationist, what would you say to this? How has the students, the people, the parents in general benefited from this scheme?
Okay, thank you for saying kudos to the administration of His Excellency Bola Ahmed Tinubu. Let me first of all commend and appreciate the vision of His Excellency Bola Ahmed Tinubu. You see, education is something that is very, very important to us as a people. It has, to me, I think education, just like what you said, is beyond the context of the curriculum, and it goes into the, you know, the whole social thing. If you are immersed, you're fully immersed in the educational system, you will learn, you know, other valuable life skills, such as public speaking, leadership, organizational management, and a whole lot of things. In fact, if you're a business inclined, it gives you access into an untapped market. You know, I hope you're aware that at university, the schools are marketplaces. Oh, yeah. Yeah. So if you're somebody with a good enough skill, a good business idea, it gives you access to a market that is conditioned to, you know, your capacities of that time. What I mean is, students in universities often start small, right? And in starting small, you get unlimited access to a market that is willing to patronize your small-scale business, right? If you're that inclined. I've seen students survive by just cleaning hostels. Now, what they do, those are not staying in hostels, they get, you know, rooms are dirty and all that. They clean your room for 1K. So by the time they clean 5 rooms, that's 5K. I've seen it happen.
They clean your room, like bathroom,
there's how it works. They have a bathroom, then they have rooms, hostel rooms, you know, and all that does. And so the room. Okay, just the room. Just to sweep and mop just the room. Okay. Sweep and mop.
They don't make the beds?
No, they don't. Okay. Just sweep, mop, you know, dust the areas and all that. They do for like 1K. And in less than 30 minutes, they are done. Okay. You know, I've seen students, you know, survive on such ventures, right? So what the administration has done is to take away the burden of educational finance, you know, from the parents and from the students that are in those circumstances, that are vulnerable, you know, that have limited capacity to afford education. You know, they take away your concerns, and then again you're much freer to be to focus on other issues such as your education and, you know, building a reputable network that, you know, assist you when you're done with school. So that's the idea. And let me remind you that the loans are interest free, right? Which is not comparable to what we have seen in some Western countries. Some Western countries, the interest alone is bigger than the loan. Yeah, but here the loans are interest free. So you could see the amount of love, you could see the amount of intentionality that the President of the Federal Republic of Nigeria has towards the youth. And you can see how he's trying to encourage the youth, he's going to push the youth to grow, you know. In fact, to me, the NEL fund, to me, I think that the NEL fund, the NEL fund scheme is enough reason. It's enough reason to vote in His Excellency Asiwaju Ahmed Bola Tinubu.
Please, we're not doing politics.
We're not doing politics. I'm just
and we're not campaigning.
We're not campaigning. I'm just
we're not doing politics.
We're not doing politics.
So please do not.
I'm trying to express the joy I feel as a result
you can express
of...
your joy. Can you express your joy without advocating?
No, I'm not advocating for anything.
For another term.
I'm not advocating for anything. I'm just trying to say that, you know, any reasonable Nigerian would want this scheme to continue. And as such, in wanting the scheme to continue, they should do all they can to ensure that the scheme continues. That's just what I'm saying. Thank you. So
what you're trying to say is that I know when it comes to Nigeria, we have a continuation problem. The next government that comes into power, especially if they're from different political background, would try to tear down what the previous government have done. I mean, the NEL Fund, like I said, is such a good scheme. I've seen firsthand, you know, in school, I've seen how people have struggled just to make ends meet. I've seen how people or students are not able to socialize or get involved in some social activities because after class they want to go and then, you know, one or two like businesses and all that. I mean, if you're into business and then is as an additional, you know, support for yourself and not like a do or die affair. It's not like your education depends on you having money, or you understand, like you making your own money for you to fund your education. There's a feeling that comes to it. There's a feeling that you want to, I mean, I am all for entrepreneurship. If you're in school, you want to build your entrepreneurship skills and what's not, make money for yourself, and then learn one or two skills. There's that. And then there's the one that the students are involved in it because this is their livelihood. This is where they gain, you know, the funding for their education. If you compare the activities of these two students, you realize that one will be thriving better than the other. Or in some cases, you know, the other may be able to beat, you know, the standard and then outdo, you know, whatever social restriction. Why would any government, any right-thinking government want to tear down the NEL Fund if it's doing so well for the nation? So what I'm just trying to say is that what I'm trying to ask is, even if this administration does not win in the next election, would whoever come into power want to tear down the NEL Fund because of what? Well,
first of all, I've heard statements from, I wouldn't want to mention the name anyway, opposition figures saying that the NEL Fund is a cash cow and what have you. You know, these people are not close enough to the grassroots, especially the student community, to know how much the students appreciate, you know, the NEL Fund. You'll be surprised, you know, about the statements of some of these politicians. I don't want to mention them. And whether I like it or not, the policies of the government, the policies of an administration the vision is carried by whosoever is president. And sometimes, so as not to give glory to their predecessors, they tend to move differently from what their predecessors have done, especially if they have different political ideologies. Do you understand me? So the most reasonable way or the surest way to ensure the continuation of the NEL Fund program is to ensure that the administration that bettered the idea, you know, continues with it as long as possible, because it's got to a point where the policy would have run long enough that removing it to be a problem, right? But for these first 4 years, it has not really taken root. So if you remove it, if the administration comes in and remove it, Nigerians might not really feel it that much. But if it runs for 8 years successfully, or successively, you know, and then it is removed, there will be rancor. You understand me? So I think that this administration should be given the opportunity to ensure that it instills, you know, the NEL Fund scheme into the very pillars that hold up this country. It should go beyond being a policy. It should transform into a right, you know, of every Nigerian student to access the NEL Fund. And I think that that is a precursor towards us getting free education. Because there will come a time, you know, if the scheme has run successfully, you know, I think that it will serve as a model, towards ensuring that education in Nigeria is totally free. And I think that the scheme should be encouraged and supported by all our Sunday. And the only way as Nigerians that we can do that we can support the scheme, that we can ensure that the scheme continues to thrive, to ensure that our children and our younger ones benefit from it, is to give our support wholeheartedly to this administration who started this scheme, for them to ensure that it has turned into a familiar policy in our Nigeria policy framework.
Okay.
And it is very, very much sustainable. That way, how you look at me like that, that way, the NEF fund will stay. So I advise all well-meaning Nigerians to support our government to ensure that the NEF fund scheme, is sustainable and evolves over time. And the only way to do that is to encourage the government that brought it into play.
Okay, in as much as I would say that any rightful thinking administration, whatever political agenda they may have, nobody will want to tamper with a good education or educational policy. So I believe that Nigeria votes for the right people. Look at their portfolio. Look at their portfolio and then vote for the right people. Because I do believe that the right individuals would do the right job, considering and putting the needs of the people first. Let's move on. Supporters of the Independent National Electoral Commission on Friday took to the streets of Abuja in a show of solidarity with the electoral body amid growing debate over the newly enacted Electoral Act of 2026. The protest, organized by the Ariwa Grassroots Leadership Assembly, began at the National Assembly complex and ended at INEC headquarters. Participants carried placards and chanted messages backing the commission and its leadership ahead of the preparation for the 2027 general elections. The demonstration followed the Senate's decision to reject calls for another amendment to the Electoral Act of 2026. Pressure for a review had intensified after opposition figures including Atiku Abubakar, Peter Obi, and Rotimi Amechi described the law as unfriendly to democracy and demanded urgent changes. To be honest, I never thought there would be a time that I would see anything or any group labeled pro-INEC. Did you see this coming?
See what's coming. What did I see coming? No, let's be clear now. What do you mean? What am I saying? Huh? Well, you see, just like I think we've had a discussion some time ago, and we saw protesters, protesting against, the enactment of the electoral law. And I told you something. That those protesters don't represent the entirety of the Nigerian people.
Yeah.
That there are Nigerian people that have different opinions from the protesters. And I'm glad today that my statement has been vindicated. Well-meaning and both Nigerians have gone to the streets, to support the reasonability of the electoral law. And I think that as a country, as a people, those Nigerians should be commended for doing things with the legislative practices. You see, I told you something that when it comes to legal process, when it comes to the law, enactment of the law, amendment and all that, the legislators consult with their constituents.
Yeah.
And it is the opinion of the constituents, the feedback of the constituents that are taken to the chamber, deliberated upon, and the laws and amendments are made to reflect the opinion of the constituents. You understand me? And of course, when you talk about the constituent, the whole thing, the whole sharing of ideas and discussion of ideas and all that, it is the majority, the opinion of the majority that matters to the legislature. So the members of the National Assembly has consulted with their constituents and discussed on the chamber, right? And you could see that those of them that were not in support of the electoral, they walked out. But unfortunately, the majority had their way, which is obtainable in every democracy. So I think that bold Nigerians who understand the opportunities available to us as of this time, took to the streets, in a bid to stand in solidarity with the legislative process, which was, opined to the legislatures representing their constituencies by them.
Okay.
So you could see that obviously it's not about, when you see a group of people with a political agenda hidden underneath you, they will say that they represent the entirety of the Nigerian people. Of course, they represent the entirety of the Nigerian people. The Nigerian people is the Nigerian people, right? And it's a collective thing, it's a holistic thing. In a group of people that were gathered somewhere because of one interest or the other, should not be made to speak or stand in for the entirety of a country of over 200 million Nigerians.
Okay.
That's what I was trying to explain to you the last time. So you could see clearly that there are Nigerians who have different opinions than the ones who protested that day.
Okay.
So, and that shows diversity. That shows diversity in our democracy, which of course is obtainable in the kind of political system we practice. And I think that such diverse views should be encouraged and let the majority have their way, which of course is what a democracy entails.
But what I don't understand is the protest being termed pro-INEC.
When you use the word pro-INEC, they were not the ones that gave themselves that. They did not come under the agencies of pro-INEC. They did not come under that agency. They came in as Nigerian people. Now, it is the news reporters, that gave them that.
Because they are saying they are in support. Okay. When the protest started, right, it was not anti or anti-INEC. It was not anti. They were trying to tell the National Assembly, right, this is our demands. This was when we called for an electoral reform. This is what we're looking at. We want a free, transparent, and credible election that reflects our will as a people. We're tired of our decisions not being taken seriously, okay? I mean, I'm in a nutshell, not being taken seriously. We're tired of choosing a representative, and then after the polls comes out, we realize that our choice is not what we get. So the only way to ensure that the elections are free and fair is the e-transmission of results. It's not really against the institution of INEC. INEC is an independent body, right? It does not have any political agenda. So I would have preferred, or would it have been better if they had been, should I say, pro-National Assembly? The last time you stated that the people protesting against electoral reform are opposition figures.
Yes,
so would you say that this is also the administration in power trying to, but instead of them coming out boldly, they are using these people to support and then use INEC as the forefront? Okay, because INEC is an independent body.
Okay, let me explain and let me speak in context. Situations are not linear. Context defines situations. Now, first of all, let me start with the claims about people saying that people that they voted are not the ones that won the elections and all that. I usually tell people those claims are made by people who lost the election.
But it would just say in a situation whereby sometimes elections are not even held because the ballot boxes will be stolen.
Well,
or the people will be hurt, intimidated into voting because you have thugs breathing down your neck. I've had recounts of such stories, breathing down your neck and telling you who to vote, which goes according to your constitutional rights. You just say then that these people are not right in saying that their choice was not given to them.
Tona, listen now.
Okay.
There are isolated cases of electoral malpractice, no doubt, right? Well,
isolated cases.
I have voted in this country. I voted in this country. At least I voted for about 2-3 elections now. I can't remember if it's 3 or 2. but I know I've voted more than once, right? And the people I voted for, some won, some lost. And I could tell who would win, and who would lose by the popularity, that were prevalent in the what are they calling it? The election booths. You understand me? So saying that people gathered somewhere and said that, how can you expect an article, a group led by an article, Obi and Amechi, to say that their wishes were in order?
They only came there to show solidarity. So the people protesting.
How can you say that the people that fronted this thing before the arrival of these opposition figures are known supporters of, or are known promoters of the ADC? And everybody claiming not to know the figureheads you saw there. I don't want to mention names, but some of them are popular on social media.
Okay.
I mean, when you say other than the figure, what do you mean by other than the figureheads? If a group is doing something, the person responsible for the vision of the group is the figurehead of the group. So if the figureheads of the groups are, what are they calling it, are known supporters of the ADC, then it's obvious that the group is pro-ADC. Now coming to the when you talk about the these people protesting as pro-INEC, and it seems like they have an agenda. Now, and that ordinarily there should be they're supposed to be given to the National Assembly. As of the time when those opposition figures, I repeat, the opposition figures, when they were protesting, the bill was still in the coffers of the National Assembly. The National Assembly was deliberating on it. So that's why the focus was on the National Assembly. But today, it has left the auspices of the National Assembly. It has been signed by the President into law. And the people responsible for carrying out the provisions of the Electoral Act is INEC. And the people are saying that they express confidence in INEC's capacity to hold a free, fair, and credible elections in line with the provisions of the Electoral Act, which of course is accepted widely by the Nigerian people, represented by the legislatures.
Okay.
So if these guys, are saying that they express confidence in INEC, in the independent body responsible for conducting a free, fair, and credible elections, I don't think it's out of place. Because after all, those other people protest against the National Assembly when the Electoral Act was in the coffers of the National Assembly, but now it's no longer within the auspices of the National Assembly. It has moved to INEC. INEC now is responsible for implementing whatever has been written down, as Electoral Act. And well-meaning and bold Nigerians, honest Nigerians, came out to support, the institution responsible for implementing a free, fair, and credible election. So
that is the Ariwa Grassroots Leaders Assembly. Okay.
Well-meaning and bold Nigerians came out to support.
No, but when you talk about the opposition, you said key figures who are in support of the ADC. The Ariwa Grassroots Leaders Assembly, where would you put them?
I don't know, you tell me.
I'm asking, since you know so much,
you tell me.
You're able to point out the figureheads, because I didn't know that there were figureheads in the opposition.
Is there any prominent
I don't know, I'm saying it, but you also knew the prominent figures. The way you're able to pick out the prominent figures in the opposition. Oh, but you don't know
is a well-known opposition figure.
Okay, but you don't know any well-known opposition figure. You don't know any well-known opposition figure. You don't know any well-known. I don't know. That's what I'm asking you. So you don't know any well-known Ariwa Grassroots Leaders Assembly.
Ariwa is an ethnic name.
Yes, but you don't know any.
It's not a political name.
I'm not saying it's a political name.
If you don't know
any political figure that belongs to the organization. You don't know, and you don't.
of Nigeria's participation. In fact, that group, I think, is the original group that speaks for the entirety of the Nigerian people.
They're the original group that speaks for the entirety of the Nigerian people.
It should be the original group because there's no political affiliations. Also, we have a group of ADC leaders and ADC sympathizers, coming up to, cause confusion in the country, and they are saying that's the will of the people. No, that's not fair.
All right. Like I said, I admire your passion.
And I admire your dedication.
Thank you very much. United States lawmaker Riley Moore has alleged that illegal rare earth mineral mining operations linked to China are fueling terrorist activities in Nigeria, worsening attacks on Christian communities in parts of the country. Moore made the allegation during an interview on Fox News following the submission of his report earlier this week to Donald Trump. In the report, he detailed concerns about insecurity in Nigeria, particularly attacks targeting Christian communities. According to Moore, while much of the international coverage has focused on religious violence, a critical economic dimension of the crisis has been largely overlooked. According to Moore, while much of the international coverage has rare earth minerals are strategic resources used in the production of high-tech equipment, including defense systems, electronics, and renewable energy technologies. Nigeria is believed to possess commercially viable deposits of such minerals, a development that has attracted increasing foreign interest in recent years. Sammy, before I ask my question, would you like some water? I'll take that as a no. All right. No, because look, divided we fall, together we stand, right? Look, apart from everything, right? Apart from me doing my job as a journalist, devoid of political affiliation or political sentiments, yeah, I'm also interested in the economic dimension that Riley had mentioned. I had a guest sometime ask this question, that what is the U.S. interest in our insecurity? We know for a fact that we have insecurity in Nigeria, and it's been faced by diverse Nigerians, being it Muslims, Christians, whatever your ethnicity may be. Okay. Now, the U.S. targeted the Christian killings or the religious killings in our insecurity. And then some people are of the opinion that it's basically Nigeria being put in the middle of an economic war or a power tussle between the U.S. and China. Prior to this, China has had a very strong footing in our economy. We have, when it comes to construction, we rely on the Chinese. When it comes to support, we rely on the Chinese. What would you say to Riley's recent comments fingering Chinese mining companies as financing terror organization that targets Christians in Nigeria? At this point, their interests are in the Christians, not really in Nigerians being killed or kidnapped or whatever. But I want to look at Nigeria being, put in the middle of a power tussle between the U.S. and the Chinese.
You see, Tonya, I have 7 years of insights on diplomacy and international relations, and by the recommendations of what I do, there are certain things that we see that the average Nigerian does not see, because of what we have been trained to look out for, and because of the previous similar circumstances that are happening in other parts of the globe. There are certain things I can't say on national television in comparing after comparing and contrasting. And I believe at the early stage of this whole thing, I was part of those who were vocal, about the intentions of, global powers in the Nigerian economy. I believe you saw some of my comments on it and all that. But as time went on, I realized that most people are not really interested in, the interests of superpowers, are more concerned with what is obtainable, to them at the moment. So I stopped putting it out there, except, having a discussion with fellow like minds. The insecurity we are facing in Nigeria is not a Christian thing, and I like the fact that you have concurred to that, opinion of mine. And anybody tells you, in fact, there's no country, there's no group in the world that regulates the affairs of Christian. If there should be a country that does that, it should be the Vatican City. So for a nation, to be so intentional about the Christians in another continent, then we should, as right thinking people, we should be able to think, about the nation's, love for the Christendom. And to me, I think that as a country, as a people, while negotiating and making deals with nations, to assist in our aid of insecurity, I believe that we should be cautious, so as to not to be used as a ploy, or a pawn, in the power game of the international system. So yeah, that's what I have to say on this issue.
All right. Thank you very much, Sammy, on that. This is where we wrap it up on this episode of Atn Sunday. Once again, Sammy, thank you very much for making all the time to come out, especially on the weekend. I know. Thank you very much.
Are you sure you're thanking me?
Anyhow you see it. Anyway, we are open for advert placements, bookings, and commercials. You can connect with us on all our ATN socials, Facebook and YouTube, Atlantic Television Network, Instagram and TikTok, Atlantic TV Network 1, on X, Atlantic TV Net. Watch us live on our website, www.atlanticnetwork.tv. Remember, peace and unity are the pathways to progress. Open Air comes up shortly. Thank you for watching. I am Antonia Asabel.
The 2026 Anniversary Celebration Lecture of Morrison Media Group. Theme: Media's role in shaping social change, addressing inequities, and empowering voices. Chairman Alex Ndudi Enabele, FSM, President, Institute of Strategic Management of Nigeria, Chartered. Keynote speaker, Professor Armstrong Idachaba, Professor of Media and Broadcasting Communication. Panelist, Professor Chris Ochonogo, Immediate Past Head of Department, Journalism and Media Studies, University of Port Harcourt. Dr. Ijoma Tobosia, Secretary, NUJ, River State. Dr. Sarah Joe, University Orator and Associate Dean, Faculty of Communication and Media, River State University, Port Harcourt. Dr. Ibiere Koki, Ignatius Aju University of Education, Rumolomini, Port Harcourt. Chief Host, Dr. Chinyere Igwe, Esquire, Chairman, Morrison Group. Date, Tuesday, 10th March 2026. Venue, Gate Place Hotel, Kilometer 5, East West Road, adjacent Obirikwere Flyover, Rumosi, Port Harcourt. Time, 10 a.m. For more information, please call Kainde Paul Obofadi, 081-063-41777 or Samuel Ajinwo at 090-454-00744.